In this presentation, you will learn about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a situation in which different cultural or racial groups in a society have equal rights and opportunities, and none is ignored or regarded as unimportant. In sociology, multiculturalism means how a given society deals with cultural diversity both at the national and the community level. There are several assumptions through which multiculturalism works, like members of often different cultures can coexist peacefully. Multiculturalism believes that society is enriched by preserving, respecting, and even encouraging cultural diversity. There are two theories associated with multiculturalism: salad bowl theory, melting pot theory. A given society becomes multicultural because of several reasons like immigration, migration, urbanization. For example, Canada invites people from all over the world to stay in their country. They give permanent resident status to them. This is done for two reasons: because they have a vast amount of land and fewer people, to maintain the required amount of population ratio. Clifford Geertz saw multicultural culture as a system of symbols and meanings which he contrasted with norms defined as oriented patterns for action. The debate surrounding multiculturalism. In the late 20th century, much of the multicultural debate has focused societies and concerns language or religious rights rather than just dealing with culture. Critics of multiculturalism come from everywhere: the socialist left and the liberal center and right. They include postmodern anthropologists, multiculturalism feminists, and human rights activists. Current theories in anthropology are based on the idea that cultures are creative and changing, internally congested and heterogeneous, on the politics of multicultural citizenship in plural or immigrant. People in one culture constantly borrow from others. Cultures are therefore inescapably hybrid and permeable. For this reason too, cultures do not have a single unified leadership, and any attempt by the state to impose one is false and oppressive. Critically also, diasporas have multiple and intersecting identities, including party political affiliations to the left and right. Feminists such as Okin argue that multiculturalism gives too much power to religious elders. Usually, men rule over women and their bodies and deny them their rights as equal citizens to choose how to dress, whom to marry or divorce, if and when to have children. In current human rights discourse, the right of individuals and collectivities to foster, enhance, and protect their culture and traditions is enshrined, but so too are freedom of speech and freedom of violence, which deny the absolute right of traditional practices such as forced marriages. Thus, multiculturalism has its contradictions. Anti-multiculturalist liberals argue that liberal democracy allows sufficient space for ethnic and religious expression in civil society and the private sphere. Universal individual rights to equality before the law are at risk if cultural rights are given preference. Talal Asad has argued that minorities need protection from offensive symbolic and civic or material exclusions and violations. On the left, the argument is that the superficial celebration of multiculturalism, of exotic cuisines, popular music, or colorful festivals and rituals disguises ongoing economic and political inequalities. Rather than addressing these, the state funds multicultural festivals and turns its back on real deprivation, prejudice, and discrimination problems. Hence, multiculturalism and identity politics obscure the common oppression of the underprivileged within capitalist society and divide anti-racist movements. Critics on both right and left tend to assume that multiculturalism is a conspiracy of top-down state engineering. Beyond the struggles of local recognition, multiculturalism has today become a global movement against national assimilationist pressures. It refers to different struggles by minorities demanding autonomy, recognition, and a share of state or local state budgets. Rather than thinking of multiculturalism as a discourse that highlights culture, it needs to be thought of as a politics of equal and just citizenship that bases itself on the right to be different within a democratic political community. Changes in multiculturalism. Are we heading towards monoculture is an important question that we need to ask, driven by modern day capitalistic groups. These groups are not just based in India but from different parts of the world. If yes, then in what pattern do these things operate? Let us try and look into this with some examples and search for answers to this question. Consumerism. Our choice of products has immensely been modified by different players in the market. For example, Amazon. Amazon gives free home delivery with a Prime membership. As a result, the small traders with local shops and their business have been impacted immensely. Many people prefer to buy from Amazon as there is a wide choice available. There are reviews which one could read and then make a decision to buy. Food habits. Eating from Zomato, Swiggy is a growing trend, especially among those who work in offices. Companies are bringing the renovation in the food and technology industry. As a result, obesity in the country increases with the new food culture that has emerged post liberalization. Transportation. There are certain parameters in a layperson's language when someone is seen as rich. One of the parameters is that of owning a car. If you cannot afford a car now, we have Zoom Car, Uber, Ola. Infodemic. In the traditional setting, the knowledge was accessible only to a limited group. They preserved it and passed it on to their generation. However, right now, all are using the internet and mass media. The same ideas are being presented and the market creates an opinion. The information is broadcasted repeatedly and one is made to think about a specific topic or person. Instagram and YouTube. Traditionally, socialization was from family members, friends, peers from the workplace, or even from schools. However, now people follow certain habits from that of Instagram or YouTube. Nearly most millennials living in cities know to take a selfie, must have tried making a reel. It can be seen as a herd behavior where one creates a path and all the others follow. Sociologically speaking, it is peer pressure, fear of missing out, and even a fad. However, this affects at a large scale the behavior of individuals where one looks for instant results. There is also a higher amount of dopamine that is released from the brain when one gets the instant result. The individual then gets into similar behavior and searches for another dopamine releasing product and it follows. This affects concentration, the self-esteem of the individual at a larger level. We are now getting into an era of visual culture. Companies are making products that cater to this culture, like swiping culture, whether online card payment or relationships. Companies are making this kind of homogeneous culture to make it easier for them to sell things in large quantities to a large group. In cultural studies terms, we would call this mass culture. However, these corporates have just used our data, which we publish on social media, which search in Google to sell the products to us or even gain votes, like in the Cambridge Analytica case in America. However, there are still issues of marginalization, minorities existing, which are not resolved yet. Accepting diversity is the only solution for a peaceful world. Thank you for watching the presentation. Do like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topics you would like to learn more about.